Exciting LinkedIn Live. We're now calling this the Empower Hour because that's what exactly it is. We value chat. Hopefully we can be directed and responsive to what people are thinking about, worried about, or happy about right now. And with that, I want to introduce you to Christy Hunter, who's now
Howard.
been
You put my
Howard.
name up.
I keep getting it wrong. I'll change it right now. Sorry.
Yes, Howard.
Yeah, okay.
I sometimes mess up my last name too.
Lord, tell everybody a little bit about yourself and what your thoughts are these days.
Well, my background has been in corporate. I was an EA for C-suite executives on and off for over 30 years. And just recently, especially since COVID started, I started doing resume reviews and LinkedIn's and helping people with job searches because I lived all over the country, growing, in my whole years. And I never had anybody help me. I would just pick up and say, oh, I'm going to move to New York. I don't have a job, but I'll figure this out. And so through the years, I've learned how to utilize LinkedIn. One, I'm a huge networker. You never know who I know who might know you or vice versa. So right now I give free LinkedIn reviews and resume reviews and pretty much tell you what you need to do and show you how to do it. And then we go from there. But my heart is breaking because I see so many of these green frames open to work. But I left a very high paying job as God said, this is what you're supposed to be doing. You're supposed to be paying it forward. And, I'm loving it. I'm helping so many people.
Well, that makes a big difference. And, it's really what we're about is helping others help us help them, in a sense is to make them aware of services like yourself and individuals like yourself that they don't have to be alone, and there's people who know things they should know themselves and don't have access or visibility. Kelly's here. Thank you so much. Good morning. Great to see your faces. If it wasn't for Kelly, there wouldn't be Christy here.
I wouldn't.
So this is so cool because people are sharing this with people they care the most, who have the most credibility with them. So thank you so much, Kelly. Glad to have you on board today. Brandy's
my other girl.
Good morning. Go Christy. Pay it forward.
So I have Arizona and I have Massachusetts right there.
Yeah, you see, and before you know it, we'll have somebody internationally show up.
Yep.
So there are no boundaries. You can never create enough goodwill for enough people, and people appreciate it. I trust people to know what they want, and I trust them to do what they want. But a lot of people don't have all of the, to solve the puzzle, haven't got enough vowels. So hopefully we can fill that in. Christy?
Well, sometimes people think that they know what they want, especially when it comes to a job and especially where they're at right now. And then having a conversation with somebody who doesn't really know them, but is listening to them when you're asking questions and then saying, hey, have you thought about this or this or this? And they're like, well, I've been doing this. And I'm like, but you have transferable skills. We can, you're experienced enough that you could do this. I mean, there's so many new titles out there, but unfortunately, the saying out there is imposter syndrome, which I have a hard time with because I've never had an imposter syndrome. But there's a lot of people who've lost their confidence and they're in the fear. And I'm all about pushing people off the cliff and just say, fly, go for it. So, I got you. I'm your cheerleader.
So the people who don't know what the imposter syndrome is, can you share a little bit of detail?
It's having their resume or their profile. However, when they interview or when they speak, they don't believe that that's who they are. An imposter syndrome is somebody who has lost confidence in who they are. So knowing who you are, having a resume, having a profile, because your profile is your personal brand, your authentic brand. Your resume is a snapshot of it. And, a lot of people look at it, go, okay, I've done this, but can I really tell people what I've done? And I'm big on telling people when you go into an interview the interviewer, and they're never your family.
Mm-hmm.
No, they're going to be, they're never your family. They're there to make a profit. And bottom line, they put out the ad for the job. They asked for you. You've got the power to have that conversation to say, hey, this is what I can do, and walk in with confidence. I don't care how successful you are. Nobody likes walking into an interview. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, you just don't. I mean, because you don't know what's on the other side. But if you walk in with confidence going, I've already done my research and I know what I can bring to these people, but that culture, the conversation might not work out for me. And that's okay, because now I just learned from it. Or walking into a job, taking a job and realizing that, this isn't working for me. I'm going to learn what I need to and then move on with that
Mm-hmm.
experience.
Yeah, well, you're right there with everyone else, in the field, really feeling the pulse of what's going on. And, I think that's so important for people to be involved in what they're working with, as opposed to being distanced from it or taking some viewpoint which might have been relevant in the past. But, I guess yourself, things are changing so quick that people are having a hard time keeping up with it while they're being challenged by so many issues that weren't there before. So, I bet you see people from every walk of life and every profession.
I'm looking at the comments, and Rob Bingham, he made the comment, how does one get that confidence back if they've already lost it?
Mm-hmm.
You have somebody who's going to sit there and be an active listener and believe in you. You surround yourself with people that believe in you. Get out of your head, because that is your
Mm-hmm.
worst enemy. That your head is telling you stories about who you are, how useless you are, blah blah blah, and it's just making up stuff because your confidence is so low right now. Understand that the confidence is your heart and your experiences. You look back at your experiences and say, I did this, I didn't know this, but I did this. And look at all the champions that you've done. And it's a hard place to be when you've lost that confidence. But once you start practicing getting out of your head, not listening to the stupid stories that we make up that really don't exist, worrying about what everybody else thinks about you. So you're unemployed. We've all been there. You might only have, you're figuring out gas or food. Many of us have been there. You're not the only person that's been there. And be vulnerable, because vulnerable is a strength, not a weakness. And just ask for help.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's really important. And, the other thing we try and stress here is if you can't do it, maybe we can together, right?
Absolutely.
And too many people are carrying too big of a load based on whatever their situation could be, lack of support, issues going in, issues coming through. It doesn't matter. Everybody's waiting for a piece of the puzzle to show up to make them more complete, especially once you're more around people who support you. And that's why this Empower Hour is so valuable. That's why getting a working group is so valuable, because sometimes you need a hand. Sometimes you need someone to walk with you, and just like if you're in kindergarten, someone would walk with you, make sure you got into class, and you'd be cool until they came to pick you up. A lot of people are walking alone these days, really uh, never facing what they're facing. So many people have gotten entitled over the years,
Yeah.
right? Thinking that everybody needs them, everybody wants them, and they were right in most cases. But that day is over.
Well, and also what LinkedIn is great about, and what I have found out, and I think those that I've had consultations with, I mean, I spent 4 hours yesterday. Well, actually 5 hours, because I went on with another person again, just talking through what they're going through. I'm a
Mm-hmm.
stranger, but for me, it's like I'm here for them, because those strangers become friends. And LinkedIn is about networking. And a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people don't understand that. I mean, old days, we used to go to, happy hours and you'd hand out a business card. And how many times would we go home and we'd have all these business cards going, who is this person? Why would I ever call them or whatever?
Hmm.
But when we reach out to people and say, hey, I mean, that's why my banner is, hashtag here to help. I'm here to help. I don't want anything from anybody else. I'm very blessed. I'm right now in my life, I am here to help people that are struggling with their mental health and trying to see how they can get a job because people actually want to work. There's a lot of people that don't, but there's a lot of people that just want to work,
Hmm.
and they got screwed by their companies. And I've been there too. You get screwed with a company that paid you a lot of money, and now you're like, I'm never probably not going to see that kind of money again. So now I have to figure out what I'm going to do, and you start spiraling down. But it's understanding that there's strangers on LinkedIn that actually do want to help
Well, I
because we've
think,
been there.
yeah, and I think to that point, while you're learning, you're also teaching, and while you're teaching, you're always learning. So to think
Absolutely.
that you're a separation from everybody else, and you know it, they don't know it, they need you. I mean, all that stuff. You got to start with a blank sheet of paper every day and figure out where you are, where you're at, and how do you want to proceed with who you are and where you're at to where you want to go. And too many people are getting defined by their past. Some people should have never even been in those situations, and they're
Right.
lucky to be free of them, either because what we talked about the other day, toxic people, uh, selling your soul every day when you have to compromise and accommodate when you know it's not right for everybody involved, but that's what people want to hear. That's what your role is. And when you break free, and I think that's what this group and LinkedIn Live and LinkedIn in general can do, is open you up to people that in traditional ways you'd never have a chance to meet. And
Absolutely.
that's where you turn the numbers in your favor, is you get a competitive advantage when you got a bigger projection, when you can amplify your message, when you can direct it to relevant people. The challenge on LinkedIn, people think the numbers work. And it's the quality of the numbers that work and the quality of the way you treat the quality numbers that work. And here's the thing, always make a friend. Don't worry about a sale. You may not even be talking to a customer. You may end
Right.
up being the buyer, right? You may be the strategic advisor, or more importantly, you may just find a trusted friend, right? And if you can find 3 or 4 trusted friends who are there for you just like you're there for them, just like real friends, but this is LinkedIn Live, where everybody's free. That's the beauty. You can make relationships and get more relationships. You can do this show and do your own show. There are no limitations. But what I would tell everybody, if you're used to hard work, and if you're used to challenging work experiences, then dedicate that same time and effort to today.
Yep.
Don't wait for something to happen. I mean, write down, what did I do every hour? It takes very little time. At the end of the day, see what you did, and looking at what you did, what could you expect? And what are you doing with the time you should be investing in yourself? And if you can't invest in yourself, like we're talking about with Christy, invest in others. You're active, you're doing something. If you can't get paid for something, do it for nothing, because at least you're doing it. Someone's getting some benefit. And maybe over time, you'll learn what you should be doing instead of guessing. And most people just want to go back to the jail cell they've always been in
Well, it's
because,
comfortable. It's
yeah,
comfortable, and they're in the fear. I mean, I spent from 8 years old until I was 40 in and out of depression. I mean, just trying to figure out who I was, wanting everybody to like me, moving, every other 4.5 years. And when I finally stopped and started working on me, because unfortunately, growing, when I was, again, I'm old, but society, you didn't think about yourself. That's selfish. But when you realize it's selfless, you got to work on yourself. And now, because of where I'm at now, with all the experiences that I've had, I continue to try to coach people. And I hate using the word coach, but share experiences, but listen to them. The whole thing is
Mhm.
listening to them, but not telling them what they need to do. Because a lot of times when they're talking, they pretty much already know what they need to do. And I'm all about the pushing the person off of cliff and letting them fly, which is first love yourself. They need
Mhm.
to do that to understand that if you don't jump off that cliff, you're just going to be standing there and you're going to be missing so much. So it's sort of like going into like any kind of business. If you're into sales and going cold calling, B2B, go cold calling, you don't know what's on the other side of that door. But when you knock on the door to, try to do a sale, you're building that relationship because you're proud of what you're doing and letting them know what they need to do. So you're sort of, in a sense, coaching them to buy something, and that helps you bring your confidence and say, okay, I know who I am, and I know that I can give back to people. If that makes sense. I
Mhm.
don't know if I just
No,
went
it
off
makes perfect sense because you need to plug into something, align with something, and then work with something. Too many people are too attracted to the shiny object. Everything's exciting until they actually have to do something for it,
Yep.
or they find out that it doesn't happen overnight. And I think that's where people need to start. And this show really helps is to get the right perspective, the right mindset, understand what reality is, not what you want it to be or what it used to be. Right. But integrate. And what we're talking about in most cases is everybody's going through a transition. Everybody's going from where they were to where they want to go. And sometimes there's no bridge. They look
Right.
across the other side and they see a big river. And what Christy's doing, what I'm attempting to do is create transitions, create communities, create working groups, create classes, right? I'm thinking about maybe just doing a 4-week proficiency class, once a week. And, by then you built a better house for yourself. You're projecting better because the competition is not only between you and the
Yep.
marketplace, it's between you and everybody else. And
Yep.
just like if you were interviewing, and look at this as an interview because people are seeing you that you don't even know, but they're evaluating what they're seeing. Everybody's
Absolutely.
looking for people in their lives, and if you're even in business, during the worst times, you still accept and look for the best people, right? And during the best times, the worst people aren't going to survive either. So you just can't ride a wave. And the thing is get to know yourself, get to see yourself. And by doing like LinkedIn Lives, you can see things that say, boy, I didn't know I was doing that.
Right.
Little things. Or, why am I here? And most people come here because they need something instead of they have something to offer, right?
Well, and then what's great about you, as you said, your scrolling thing is, introduce yourself, recognize, and appreciate, and then we're about empowering because that's what I do. I like to, empower. I always say when I explain to people, because when I help people, I always tell them, you're one of my number one people. I say, you need to connect with Don. You need to at least pop on his LinkedIn Lives because you never know who you might see that, it's just a connection that you want to have. But it's like sitting in somebody's living room and people are coming and going. You might just know the host, but you end up having all these deep conversations of just about anything and everything. And it's very authentic and transparent. And that's what's great about this whole thing. I mean, it just, as you said, we're not selling, we're not, bashing people or doing that. We're trying to empower them. We're trying to appreciate because that's what's right now is lost. Because unfortunately, a lot of people are in such a bad, people are stuck. I mean, even people that have jobs, they might be working in a toxic place. They might not be liking what they do, but they need that paycheck. I mean, it was huge for me to say to my husband, I got to go. I'm supposed to be doing this. And he's like, okay. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm leaving a salary, health benefits, but this is what I want to do. And I love what I do. I mean, I worked from 8 till 10 o'clock last night in this office because I love what I do. It's like making jewelry. Some people like to make jewelry. I love, rearranging and helping people with their job search, but also helping them with their confidence.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Well,
I don't consider myself a career coach. I'm about confidence
yeah, and
because we get in our heads.
to your point, and you make so many good valid points. And even the last episode you're on, you got great. We got to have Christy back. So really, the audience sees it too. Is people have to realize that there are people who want to help you, who enjoy helping people. So the fear of reaching out shouldn't. It's how you reach out. Reaching
Yeah.
out will get you everything. All you have to do is give people a reason why, so they don't feel like they're spaghetti against the wall. And it's easy to say, I just watched your video or saw a LinkedIn Live, and boy, I have a question for you. You know what I mean? If you just start with that, right?
It's interesting. Yesterday, I tried to post this post 4 times. Then I tried it again today. And it's a picture of my husband and I, but it has to do with ageism. Just I got this stats down. It wasn't negative, but it was just sort of like, let's stop breaking this system. And I went over to his page, didn't see it. I tagged Brandy and a few people, and they didn't see it. And I'm like, where I could see it, and it's still not going. I was sitting there going, am I going to be in the LinkedIn jail? I mean, I've never even been in Facebook jail in my lifetime, and I should have many times. But I'm just like, this is really weird. I don't know if it's technology or they're just not. I mean, how I wrote it was not bashing anything, but it was just very weird. So understanding the technology and, you know, I don't look at my post as how many likes I get or, the analytics anymore. For me, there's so many people that do like Wednesday welcomes or Saturday shout outs and everything. And I like looking at those conversations. Like there was somebody the other day that did ask a recruiter. I'm just, looking down and I look at LinkedIn as my college
Mm-hmm.
because I learned from so many people on here.
Well, and it's because you're open to learning and you're accessible to learning. And you have to be proactive. You have to be the ones to go first. You have to look at what you acquired every day. When I look at my profile views, I must have 15, 20 at least a day.
Yeah.
Out of that, there's 6 or 7 really interesting authors, speakers, thought leaders. And every one of them, I'm reaching out and saying, hey, first of all, you'd be a great candidate for my LinkedIn Live. Because here's what you have to do. You have to have currency, right? When you go in, everybody's going to know, what do you want? What do you want from me? Okay, what am I going to get in return? It doesn't have to be financial. And why would I do this? And why would you want to do it with me? And once you can say, I have something, right? Whatever that is, right? I mean, and if you got a LinkedIn Live show, it's exposure, it's visibility,
Well, Kelly and I will eventually get there. We're both, we will eventually get there. We've got the idea, but we're both perfectionists and we both want to just, both, plus we're different time zones of having to talk.
Yeah,
But we're gonna have our live show. And the more we talk about it, the more excited I am because I've been on yours and I see how big who you're touching, the audience, especially the rewinds, doing that where when I was on the one that was I talked too long, I was watching it because you always want to see, because that was really the first time it was just me. And so I was watching and listening to it on what the football game was on. And I'm like, oh, okay, I would have listened to myself. I'm just not badly. So it got me more excited because I used to hate public speaking. I used to, yeah, I just used to hate public speaking.
Well, I was never a big, I mean, I did public speak, always intimidated by it because a live audience, even though we're live now, you're not looking at everybody. You don't see everybody looking at you. You're not affected by people going in and out the doors, during what you're
Right.
saying, the stage, how you're dressed, all that kind of stuff. Where here, all I see is Christy, right? Everybody else I know is here,
Right.
but but I don't see them. I don't really feel them. And when you do this 200 days in a row, right, you kind of get the feel for what's involved. And I'm getting better at it every day because I'm deferring to the co-host, who hopefully we defer to the audience,
Right.
right? And over 200 days, no one's going to live a lie just to get you in a program. And the reason I'm not launching a program is, first of all, I'm sharing it with a lot of people I trust their knowledge, because I'm a big person and not doing things independently. That's going to be working collaboratively, right? If you're by yourself doing it yourself, you do whatever you want. When you're with a group, you really should not surprise anybody. Like, here's what I'm intending. Anybody got something? Because people get ownership if they get involvement and
Right.
commit. And I think, to Christy's point, this is such a phenomenal opportunity that all I'm looking to do is onboard people. And here's the key. This is a great network to try things out, get things going, because what people don't always appreciate is this can stream to 3 or 4 other, everything. So when you're doing
Absolutely.
this, you're showing up on your own LinkedIn Live. You're showing up on YouTube if you want. You're showing up on Facebook all at the same time. And my next step is going from a show to a network, creating themed hours, like this is the Empower Hour, and themed shows that people can say, okay, let's try a show with the 3 of us, like me, you, and Kelly. Or let's put together an event and leverage this, for whoever it is involved. Really do it. And then when you find out you need more bandwidth, then you can continue to expand. But the time you take waiting is better off, again, time spent doing and testing, because no one's going to see anything. You'll get 100 or 200 people out of 900
Right.
million. So it's not like you're going to Broadway, and launching a big show. But once you get it down, then you decide what you want to do with it. Too many people are out to distribution instead of building value initially. What's the best product I can put out there with the most value, that's easiest to achieve, and everybody gets happy who want to take another bite of the apple, and
Well,
that's,
there's so much possibility. And if you can see outside of the box, and I always say the box is just your belief system of what you think. And then I go that it's just a box of BS, because you got to get outside of the box and see all the possibilities that are surrounding yourself.
yeah. And like I say, either you're learning or you're earning or doing both,
Absolutely. Yep.
right? So either way you win if you view it that way. And when I look at it, is I do so much, but I don't do it that well because I couldn't do that much if I did it that well, right? So if I do a newsletter every day now, but it's 10 minutes because I got a template. I changed 4 or 5 names. I got a newsletter. I
Right.
got a poll now every day, because then I post the newsletter turns into a post, which turns into a poll. Then I tag it like crazy. And then I got a LinkedIn Live that I'm promoting in everything, and that becomes a post. And then there's a post to that. So you could be posting 5 times a day about the same thing. And if you look at my headline, if you look at my whole profile, there is not one me, anything me. It's completely void of me. It's all about what I do and how people could take advantage of it, because that's all they want to know. They'll get to know me after
Right.
they get to see if that's what they want. And by doing a visual, right, by being there, it's like a plumber. You pay them anything when you need them, but you got to
Mhm.
know where they are at 2 in the morning. And if and if you got a
Exactly.
crew that's on every day, 7 days a week at 11 a.m.,
Yep.
then it's not, there's no excuse to say, well, I can't wait a week. I agree with you, Christy. This is like like urgent care, what we're given. You got to be available when people need you. And when people start to see, just like you are, that this is seamless, it's almost effortless, and it's totally comfortable if you make it comfortable, if you make it seamless. But I see people's shows, all they're doing is pitching, you
Yep.
know, here's my 3 programs. What's your 2 programs? And the audience is like knowing the difference when they see shows like that. The worst citizens, the worst behaviors really spotlight some just good behaviors, you know? And I think that's what people say is, I'm tired of being on LinkedIn and being harassed. I'm tired
Right.
of being sold. I'm tired of being connecting with somebody and then there's somebody else. And I mean, it's just dealing with, you know, it's just like walking in the rain versus the sunshine. And I
Well,
think,
again, with LinkedIn, you're learning from people from all over the world. I mean, I was on a post this morning. And it was just like there goes my husband. The door's open. My husband just walked by. But anyway, so you learn so much from other people. Um, all, as I said, all over the world. And today I was on a post, and now it's like people post, and there you go. Thank you. I look at their page and I learn from them. I'm just not hitting connect. I want to know who these people are and building the relationship deeper than I had before, because that's what's missing in the world. We want relationships. COVID messed us up. We all went, underground. Um, but now people want to get back and be human again, and have softness. We've become so hard and protected. And when we understand life with empathy, and also understand that, that person out there that is struggling, that's posted that they're struggling, that could be you next week.
mm-hmm.
So, when I do consultations, the free stuff, at the very end, I just said, look, and everybody I talk to, they know, they're just like, you really hate doing this. I'm just like, look, this is what I do, what I can do for you. And, I hate even mentioning it to you, but here's an option. And
Mm-hmm.
either they say, yeah, I want you to do it, or they say, I can't. And I'm like, okay, well, then you can just reach out with me after you've done everything you've done, and we'll review it together again.
Mm-hmm.
I'm giving them the power to make the decision for themselves.
Well, that's
I
pretty
don't want
smart.
anything. I want them to be successful. I don't want anything else.
Well, the thing too about it is you're working with what you're working with,
Mhm.
right? Yeah, and that's really key. Is some people are in a different time, a different space, a different situation, and you need to respect that, right? You're there to serve them. They're not there to adjust to you. They're already unable to adjust to just themselves. So you just have to meet people where they're at and make a determination. Is this going to be somebody who's going to make things better for being around you? And that's my first consideration, or not. And if someone's going to be an anchor or an elevator that takes you down, it's right off the bat, there's too many other people you don't know just like that person. And you tell them it's not a good fit. You don't have to get into a lot of detail, and just say, you're better off with someone who thinks or is aligned with your direction,
Absolutely.
right? And when you're the one doing the choosing, that alone gives you confidence. When you know that you have at least the same say so in anything you start with somebody. And most people, because they don't share a lot, they don't share things they need to at the beginning that could have been something that,
Right.
could have prevented something down the road. And, at a certain point, there's so many opportunities. And sure, there's more people who are out there, but that's the key to being out there better, right? Because if no one gets seen, it doesn't matter who they are. And if you get seen, right, that's better than not being seen. So some things are pretty simple. What were you going to say, Christy?
Well, people get afraid of sharing because they're afraid of being judged. And I had a business coach who just unfortunately just passed away, but he used to tell me, don't cater to your haters. And then I would always say, well, we're always going to have those haters who are going to judge us and everything like that. but you eventually learn that when they start judging you, they're telling you you're being successful.
Mm-hmm.
Because so many people don't want to see everybody. I don't want to say everybody. So many people want, you know, you to not do good because they're not doing good. What is that saying that, misery loves company?
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it's like, no, change the energy around. Let's bring good energy in. Get out of your head. Be positive. Even if you're in a bad place, you can always find a positive into a negative. I mean, I've had experiences in my life and they're just people are like, you're so open about it. You're not bothered by what happened to you. And I'm like, because I can see the positive out of that terrible negative.
Yeah, and life is what life is, you
Oh,
know, and everybody has to go through it one way or the other. The key is, again, who you're with. During my worst times, if I had the right people, they weren't bad times. They were just experiences. You put bad or good on something, and you now are manifesting what the future of it is going to be because that's what your belief is. And the key is get around people, first of all, who really sincerely believe in you
right.
and people you trust. And then what you're sharing is not vulnerable or put you at risk. It puts you at safety and at support because if something's crying inside of you, it's not been taken care of. It's an alarm, right?
Right.
And you know it. But the same thing is you don't want to get worse by saying, okay, now I deal with it and now they think this of me. Or now they're not going to be hanging out with me if they knew the whole
Right.
story. So that's the key is take a step. Most people try to accomplish too much in too little time with too little, and they're surprised when it doesn't work. Mario's here.
Hi, Maria.
What I'm saying right now with the people on the show alone, that's more important than my 37,000 connections because this is my new family. This is my new group of friends who are proving themselves to be that every day, right? In every way. And we all want to do better, but unless you lock arms, unless you meet by plan instead of accident, right? Unless you organize and say, what have we all got that if we cobbled it together, we would be a formidable force and then be able to duplicate that. The opportunity is where you're at. It's how do you take advantage of it? You don't want to get the best of this and go back to the worst of that
Right.
and try and squeeze in where they didn't want you. You didn't want to be there. And you're a sucker for a paycheck or for security that isn't secure anymore. That's the thing. It's an illusion, right? If I
Well,
get a job, I'll be there for
you know,
5 years and they'll take
seeing
care of
all
me.
seeing all the comments and everything like that, and you know, we're used to trolls off of social media where they get ugly and they're trolls. However, this LinkedIn Live, people bring out, we're talking and all the comments on every LinkedIn Live they've had, it's always uplifting. People share. But then I have this odd feeling that when they walk away, they're going, I'm going to start practicing that mantra. I'm going to start saying this is what I need to do because we just had this conversation instead of just being the person behind, and it's safe because they're behind a screen. You're having conversations behind the screen where some people are not comfortable sharing, and when they're face to face with a stranger, um, and this is where you're building up these relationships because Alex, all these people, to me, they're not strangers. I mean, and, Alex loves theme parties. It just gets more comfortable because you know that it's not going to get ugly because there's so much ugliness out there. So this is a safe place. This is a place that where people can feel appreciated and they can speak what they're thinking and not be judged.
Well, and it's proving itself because you're right. I see Alex every day now. I don't see very many people in my life every day now. I see Mario all the time, Kelly all the time. I mean, these are people who found this to be valuable. And the other good thing is we started this from scratch. There was no legacy, there was no sacred cows. And it's
Secret
highly,
path.
yeah, it's highly curated because we have control over who comes in. You know, Restream allows you to block the person forever. If you know,
Oh, okay.
so I'm saying if you get, and then I or the co-host get to see the comments in advance,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if someone's coming in with their four sales pitches all in
Right.
one, or their plea for something that probably doesn't exist, then we can support. You know, if all we have right now is all we have plenty to work with.
Right.
But that's not the case because I mean, just with the people coming through other people, Ambimbola, who comes here every day, I see 3 or 4 of her friends supporting her here, you know, and that's what you know, that's really the test or the proof is who do you tell when something is the best thing or one of the best things you've
Right.
experienced. You're going to tell the
Right.
people you care about the most, the people,
Right.
because here's the thing, you know how it is and what it is you're getting them into, you know, and you know who they are and who it could fit. And you know, all it is, first, it's free, it's available every day. You can come in for 10 minutes, you can come in for the whole time, you can come in later and listen to it on your own. You know, is what is
Or
the
you can
message?
listen to it after you share it afterwards.
Well, another thing is people are sharing it with friends when they do it, so it doubles
Mm-hmm.
the visibility.
Right.
And I think, and that's my firm belief, that people are good. In essence, everybody wants
Yeah.
to be good. I'd say 99% of the people in the world just want to live a life, have a family, have a job, and pay their bills, and they don't care about a lot of the other stuff. But it's the 1% who have a microphone,
Right.
right? And they're the ones who never stop speaking and never stop scamming people because it's a numbers game for them. The
Which is
people
a
who
shame.
it,
It breaks my heart that so many people are scammed and lied
well,
to and jerked around.
well, the reason for it is for the same reason people need this. There's desperate people,
Absolutely.
right? People will buy, you know, there's a saying, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. And
Yep.
it's the same thing. So people are taking advantage of a disadvantage where we're trying to give an advantage to a disadvantage to get them on their feet. You know, that's why they say on LinkedIn, talk like a 10-year-old, because now everybody will understand you. And you
Absolutely.
want
And it's not an insult.
no, and the thing is all you got to do is get people better. You
Right.
know, you don't got to go right to the top, but you can stop digging your hole and, you know, at least understand where you're at. Building up my confidence bit by bit. Well, you know, little things, you know, that whole story. If someone gave you $1 million or said, I'll give you a penny that will double every day for 30 days. And after a week, it's 64 cents. And
Mm-hmm.
after 30 days, it's like 2 million. It's little things that compound. And the other thing is your belief changes with the people's belief in you, you know?
Absolutely.
And once you start feeling stronger, then it ripples. So you're not just doing it for yourself, you're doing it for all the people. If you've become a big success, there's family and friends that are going to be rooting for you or have rooted for you. But you've been sometimes too much into what's happening to you instead of what's making things happen
Yep.
in the future. So what do you think about that, Christy?
Or just be. I mean, that's the bottom line. It's just be. I mean,
Mm-hmm. Well,
be
here's
you
Kelly.
and
Uh,
share.
yeah, people want
Yep.
to dull the shine. It makes you shine brighter, sister. See,
Yep. We know
Kelly,
that.
Christy, they know what they want. They know what they should have. You know, if anything, they overserve instead of
Mhm.
overtake.
Right.
And they're comfortable doing that. And so am I, because even if you're wrong, leave a little bit extra on the table. You know, who wants to get the last bite? You know, what does it show? Uh, Brandy Sample, I am in the same boat with you, my friend. I had a huge hit to my confidence, and I'm totally honest, my ego in November. I'm just not starting to feel, I'm just now starting to feel a bit back to normal. Christy's energy and courage have been a huge key. And that's wonderful because Christy would never know that unless you shared it. And we wouldn't know where you're coming from or what you're dealing with until you shared it. It's like going to the doctor and you got a bad foot and you say, I don't know what the problem is, right? It's like while you're there, you know, you might as well figure out if someone can help you. But, I
Right.
think what everybody's understanding, which is even just as important, is everybody has to approach it the same way. Little steps, comfortable steps, but forward steps. As long as you know where you're going and that you're going to get there, the journey is less harsh, right? If you can count the days and say, well, in 8 days, I'll be in Buffalo and that's where I need to
Right.
be, then for the 7 days, it's all just, well, count the days and I'm there. The problem is when you don't have a destination, when you don't know how to get there, but you got to move and you're making decisions because life doesn't wait for you. It is finding the group. And the people here, I mean, are such high quality that it's
Hmm.
not like they couldn't find something else to do during this
Right.
time, right? So if it's good for them, maybe it's good for you. And if not, you tried something and maybe there's another show. What I'm saying is it's a buffet. Try everything. Try what everybody has. And you know what you'll find? The quality shines through even better when you go to a normal show where they give you the questions.
When
You
it
know,
goes back to you don't know what you don't know.
hmm and you
So,
should be excited by that because that gives you
yeah,
license to say, I don't know
curiosity. Be
yet.
a
Who
child
does?
again. Be a child again. Be curious. Be curious about life. See what's out there. But unfortunately, we get all stuck. The older we get stuck. We sit in our head. We're, can't do this. People will judge us. It goes on and on and on. It- and and I'm fortunate. I'm fortunate I have good genes. But I have been having conversations with people, and I could be their mother, and they're just like, "You're not 61," and I'm like, I have good genes. However, I look at it that it's because of how I look at life now. The last 20 years, I'm just like, I'm just not digging into my head. I'm living life to the fullest. Yeah, I still have my stress. I still have the crap that comes into my life. That's ebb and flow. But because of that, I'm not stressing. So my energy, I'm more uplifting. I mean, I looking at myself in the mirror or whatever, I feel more uplifted instead of down, into the hole. And it's understanding that there's so much out there still. There's so much, people, conversations, um, just learning from people all over the world. And that's why I like this show. That's why I love LinkedIn. I mean, those that are, connected to me on Facebook, I'm sure they're probably saying, "Where is she?" Because I used to post on that all the time.
Hmm
I'm on LinkedIn all the time because I'm not even really posting. I'm looking, I'm watching the conversation, joining in, and I'm learning from people. And I walk away going, "Wow, those were some great conversations."
Well, and they're so spontaneous. And you know what's
Mhm.
so beautiful about it? And it happens all the time is someone will say something that will trigger a memory, a situation, and it's usually a real positive one. It's really something they forgot about. It was always there along with all their memories. And what I really value in what you just said is that you're taking the road less traveled on LinkedIn because most people look at what everybody's doing and they want to compete with them. They look at
Absolutely.
they look at a post and say, I can one up this person. I can get some more numbers there. But they're playing somebody else's game. They're not authentic at that point because now they're copying something that's successful for somebody. But if you're not that somebody, it's not going to work.
Absolutely.
Right? There'd be 100 Bob Dylans if all you had to do is say, I'm Bob Dylan and I sing a song. It doesn't work
Right.
that way because those are superficial people that don't understand that the deeper you go, especially on LinkedIn, the richer it gets with the people that can stick with you, right? If someone says, hey, let's go to the top, and someone says, well, I'm only going to go to the second floor, well, that's fine, but that shouldn't stop you from going to the top,
Exactly.
right? Find somebody else who's going there. And once you get there, work it. People just think if 10 is good, 20 is better. No, if 10 is good, 20 dilutes the 10 you have.
Right.
And now you're hoping for numbers again. One good relationship will open the whole world to you. And most people, when they find it, they forget why they look for it and why they got it. And now they're thinking, me again, right? They were me until they needed we. And then once they got the we, they want to go back to the me. It doesn't work. And you can't tell people that. It's like when you're selling something and you know the person needs it, they'd be making a terrible mistake if they didn't buy it. But there's no way you can get through to them because they think you're doing things for the wrong reason
Exactly.
instead of them not doing the right things for a reason. And at that point, my philosophy's always been if you have to sell someone to bring them in, you got to sell someone to keep them in, right? And you don't want to be selling that much. So if people don't see it, people don't understand it. And if people you talk to, it takes you forever to get an understanding of a simple thing. That's what life is going to be with those people,
Well, it's sort
right?
of like it's sort of like the broken interviewing system right now that I'm hearing, that people are having to do projects. They're having to go through 8 interviews and, jumping through hoops and stuff like that. And then at the end, they're like, oh, we decided to go to a different direction. And to me, my whole thing is you have your LinkedIn profile that shows you, that's your brand. You have your resume. They brought you in, you have a conversation. They now know who you are. You don't need to keep on proving yourself. And also, it shows to you, would you even want to work with these people? If they've just jerked you around, even if they gave you a job, you see how they treat people. Wonder how they treat people when they're trying to sell things. They're just, it's like a circus. Um, I just keep on going back to treat people the way you want to be treated because one day you might be in those shoes.
Well, sure. And, I think what you're saying is kind of cool because some people open a door that you need to walk in, and some
Hmm.
people open a door that you need to walk out of, right?
Absolutely.
And when people tell you certain things and it triggers something, there's a reason for that. Now, it might have been something in the past that you said, this is playing out just like that was, or this person reminds me of that person. And again, if you're insecure, if you're on the block for whatever anybody wants, as long as they pay whatever price you need, it's not, you're wasting your life. You're
Absolutely.
not just making a bad, it's not like you invest in a stock, put in a drawer and find out a loss. Well, you lost money. You're redirecting your time, your attention. You're disassociating from people you should be with and associating with people you shouldn't. And again, a piece of your soul is just going to get sucked up by something or something and make you less comfortable. If people had $1 million in the bank, how would they act? They'd act a lot differently than if they needed a job or they couldn't pay rent this month. But they would definitely be particular, you know. I mean, they would definitely say, well, I don't need to make money. So unless it serves me somehow, or more importantly, what they might say is, I've got enough for me. I can afford to volunteer. I can afford to give
Absolutely.
pro bono to, and then work with just deserving people would be the qualifier, right? Not people who can pay. And if you started doing that now, while you're not doing anything now, waiting for something that may never come, start with yourself and give it away, because at least you're practicing, at least you're in the game. They're getting benefit from you. It's costing you nothing, you
Yep.
know? And that's the key when someone says, I want to be what I was. No one's going to be what they was. I'd like to be 20 years old tomorrow, and that's never going to happen. But the thing is today is everybody's day. This moment is everybody's moment. One thing is we're here, we're all together, we're live. Your now is my now and everybody's now. What do you want to do with it now that you have it? People say, if I had this person, if I had this person, if you need
There's a lot of ifs there.
yeah,
There's
if
a
you need
lot
a
of ifs
person to
there.
make you whole,
And going back about if you have $1 million, that $1 million can disappear. All of a sudden you're all very high up. And so it goes, the volunteering, giving back, it goes in a circle. If you give back, somebody will give back to you. It just, having those kind of relationships is treating people the way you want to be treated. Don't assume that if you've got $1 million or, you're very successful or whatever, you're not better than that other person. because one day you might be that person that's struggling, and get the ego out. I mean, that's a dangerous place to be, is sitting in your ego thinking you're better than everybody else, and I don't need any help, and I'm the king of the world because I've got all this money and the yacht and stuff like that. One day that could all disappear,
Yeah,
and
and
then where are you at?
if you don't have
It's
your health,
quality over quantity as well with people. You got to
well,
have the quality.
yeah, and I tell everybody, unless you've had money, you don't know what money is.
Yeah.
And to think it's the answer is probably wrong. And money makes things, good people better and bad people worse. That's the way it
Hmm.
goes, right? So, uh, in my opinion, there's opportunity right in front of everybody. If you just looked at everybody on chat, right? There probably was about 10, 12 different people. And you reached out today to all 12 people and see if you're connected to them. You know what you could do, which would really be something that has value and hardly anybody thinks about, is if you have gotten to know somebody on the show, write a recommendation for them,
Absolutely.
right? How does that hurt? I mean, you got to show that it, it's not that you're ready when something happens. Start making some happen, and all of a sudden people feel some obligation of gratitude or guilt, or maybe both, to reciprocate somehow. But you've got to be the one who, raises your hand and gets their attention. And the best way to get their attention is to serve first and keep serving. What does it cost you? If anything, it's good practice. And if you're not doing this, you're doing that, right? So either way, you're going to be doing something. Why
It's
not
good.
do it?
It's good energy. It's good karma.
Yeah, why not do it for the people that are for you? Don't take what's here and then take it outside as much as keep it here and grow it here. If we have a community garden, right? The key is everybody working closely together, learning from each other, being together, because that's how families get strong. They are together, they meet, they see each other, right? It's not just for funerals or weddings or something. And that's just common sense, and always has. So while you're waiting, start doing. While you're doing it with people you know and care about and want to help. Because what I learned even from the comment of Christy, one sentence that we don't even know has value to anybody could be pivotal for them to get moving, to leave
Right.
a bad relationship, to get out of a crummy job, to say goodbye to a client. I mean, those are the things that have come together because of whatever it is that made you who you are. And at a certain point, if you take inventory and say, when I was doing turnarounds and restructurings, the question was always, if I wouldn't buy it, I should sell it, right? So if you saw 4 desks that nobody was using, you wouldn't have bought those 4 right now. So get rid of them, right?
Right.
I mean, and that's
If
the
it
same.
doesn't serve you, you
Yeah,
don't
I
need
mean,
it there.
it's the easiest thing. Look at your closet. Look at your cupboard. What haven't you eaten in a year? What haven't you worn in 10 years? And the thing is, they say, well, it's just space. But no, there's somebody who could use that dress.
I just dumped 3 bags on Sunday
I mean,
of clothes and shoes.
honestly, my closet is 1/3 of a closet. If I don't wear it in 30 days, I don't have it,
Yeah.
and that makes life easier because it's like a remote control. You go through everything, you end up with the same 2 things, you
Yeah.
know? So it's simple things. And, one thing I'll say about being older, there is something to experience.
Hmm.
There's something to wisdom.
Yep.
There's something to what you learn from everybody else. It's not just you that you carry forward. And when you get older, the things that you were really crazy about have very little value. And the things that didn't have a lot of value now have a lot of value. And another thing, when you get older, you realize all your fears, there's not enough time for them to come true anymore. And
Absolutely.
at a certain point, it doesn't matter as much as it used to because I've had it, I've been it. Now is a nice time to share it, to help other people experience it. If you go to a restaurant and you've had that meal 20 times and it's same old, and you bring somebody and they've never had it, it's a joy just to say, hey, give it a shot. Let me see how you think,
Right.
how you feel. And it's doing those kind of out of the box things, and they're not that totally out of the box. Do something nice for somebody. Comment on this post. I couldn't be a taker without giving something because it doesn't take much. to share. It's a button. It's a comment. It's a like. And I know most people aren't aware of the value of it. That's why they don't do it, because it doesn't take much to do it.
Right.
But once you start doing it, I mean, that's the whole thing to tagging. You're getting people's exposure, recognizing people, and most people at the basic would say, thank you for thinking of me, or thank you for your thoughtful gesture. That's all they have to say. Two things happen. Someone gives you something back, and now you're not in a vacuum. Second thing, LinkedIn sees it and says, hey, this is relevant. People are acting. Let's share it even further. So anyways, I know we can talk forever, and it's just part of the show. But I am respectful of people's top of hour. Kelly, and Kelly's just amazing. And I just say that all the time because it's true. And if you're going to be honest, you might as well be true and honest. And
Absolutely.
it never hurts to continue to say things you feel, because they don't know, and then other people don't know. So another insightful conversation. I would go jump on another call. Wishing you all a wonderful day. Alex, it's still able to explain in simple terms. And that's really what it is why not make it simple? Why not make it easy on everybody? Who's a big shot? So anyways, with that, final words, Christy?
No, as always, I love empowering people. Anybody needs any resume or LinkedIn help, I am here. I do it for free. I look over it for free, and we get to know each other. I get to know who you are and what do you want to be when you grow up. Maybe your second time you want to grow up.
Well,
but no, I always enjoy that you ask. I'm blessed that you ask, and I'm glad that I was able to jump on. I've got one client, and then I'm going up to Top Golf to go hit some balls because it's a beautiful sunny day in Florida. And
well,
take a
that's
half a
good
day.
for you, and I got to thank you for being here and sharing so much heartfelt direction, and just being as generous as you are with looking at things for free and being open to talking to anybody. And that's really what we want to build as a community, because that's what people will know us for. They're not going to know us for being smart or sharp. It's for being empathetic, for being supportive. And that's everybody can start at that point. So anyways, thank you. I'll be back tomorrow. We do have Russ Hedge tomorrow. You don't know Russ. Russ is
He's a new person.
Yeah, but he's a great guy. He's a marketing coach, keynote speaker, live stream producer. He's got some shows, and he's really, really well connected to some people that have podcasts that are getting 10, 15,000 viewers per show. So a lot you can learn, and he really aligns with
jumping on.
Yeah, I mean, so the people I'm bringing on are people everybody can learn from. And, the idea is opening it up to more people, not closing it down, not restricting people. If you're going to give people freedom, give them all the freedom you can. So anyways, with that said, I'll say goodbye. And one needs to focus on positive. You're absolutely right. Thank you. Enjoy your day. Be back tomorrow with Russ. And